You're listening to The Martin Houston Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Eddie Garcia.
In baseball games of note, the Padres shut out the Nationals in D.C. 3-0. The story, though, San Diego starting pitcher Dylan Cease threw the second no-hitter in franchise history. 9 innings, no runs, no hits, 9 strikeouts, 3 walks. He threw 114 pitches. And with the win, San Diego moved a half game in front of idle St. Louis for the final wildcard spot in the National League. Dodgers defeat the Giants 6-4. L.A. starter Clayton Kershaw in his season debut, coming back from shoulder surgery through 72 pitches, 4 innings, 2 runs, 5 hits, 6 strikeouts, 2 walks in a no decision. Shohei Ohtani hit his 31st home run of the year as the NL West leaders took 3 of 4 from their rival San Francisco. Guardians, leaders of the AL Central, were shut out by the Tigers 3-0. Orioles blew a 6-0 lead but ended up beating the Marlins 7-6 in 10 innings. They've got a 2-game lead now on the idle New York Yankees for the top spot in the AL East. Mets over the Braves 3-2 in 10 innings. New York now is a half game back of Atlanta for the number 1 wildcard spot in the National League.
Alabama 1st and 10 on the 12. Again, Houston. He's got a hole. He's over. Alabama touchdown.
I'm just wondering if your listeners know how good a football player you were. I can still see you playing that fullback, knocking those players out of the way. And I believe I could have run behind you.
Martin, I can remember when we came to summer and you were playing fullback up there, and I saw you in the weight room and watched you work out in the weight room. If you could pick up, you were strong enough to pick up the whole weight room. I wanted to recruit you, and our running back coach didn't take the pass. Biggest mistake we ever made.
The Martin Houston Show with national championship winning fullback Martin Houston, giving you 1 hour of intense, hard-hitting analysis from an insider's perspective. It's time for the Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Good morning. Welcome into the Martin Houston Show. It is a free-for-all Flashback Friday. We're live, local, and ready to get things rolling right here on your home for Alabama sports. I want to invite you to get in on the conversation. We're going to talk recruiting. We're going to talk all SC selection. We're going to talk scholarship. I'm changing it from just scholarship increases to scholarship/roster management. And I'm going to do something I don't do often. 2 things I don't do often. I'm going to play an entirety of an interview, and it's a 6-minute interview. And it's not an Alabama coach. It's Dabo Swinney. Dabo Swinney, if you all, I went in depth on the scholarship limitations, pros and cons, and Dabo does an absolute unbelievable job of explaining this, okay? And the way he explains it is really good. And what he does is it's a lot like what I'm trying to change forced upon me before I had the career change forced upon me by Alabama One and the decisions that they made. There wasn't an issue. I had plenty of spots and things like that because I wasn't really trying to sell my spot. But now the limitation matters because I'm trying to fill my roster of sponsors. And as I do that, there's only so many spots, okay? There's only so many breaks in an hour, and you have to decide whether you have 60-second spots or 30-second spots, live reads versus recorded, but it's a limit. And every time I use one of those, it's gone. And then when it's gone, I can't just reach over and grab another sponsor and put it in. I have to wait till another sponsor is ready to come on. So I have to go out and try to find that sponsor. And that's the time frame. Well, in college football, they have a time frame of when they lose a player, when they can replace them. And guess what? They can only replace them one time a year, technically, and that is after signing day in spring ball into the next fall. And Dabo talks about that a little bit. So we're going to have him. I mean, I'm telling you, it's really good. And it is doing away with the walk-on program. But that wasn't their intention. That's not what they said, but the way it's implemented. And so I'm going to let you hear that in its entirety. We're going to have recruiting with X. He's going to give us an update. We talked a little bit in the OT yesterday about the defensive line. We can talk about that. We can talk about all SEC. But regardless of what we talk about today, you can get in on that conversation with us by just talk to us a little bit on our phone lines at 205-342-9904. You can talk to us, let us know what you got going on. And we'd love to hear from you. 205-342-9904. That's the hotline. You're welcome to sponsor that as well. And jump in with us on chat. Remember that this is a day that the Lord has made, so let's rejoice, be glad in it. Take some time today to notice someone, love someone, serve someone, be the difference you want to see in the world today. All right, so like I said, we're going to hear from Dabo. It's about a 6-minute clip. But before we do that, X, how you doing, man?
Doing well. Glad to be back again this morning.
Glad to have you back. Hey, listen, and what's your real quick thoughts on the scholarship? It's not scholarship roster management. It is literally, when you hear Dabo explain this, you're gonna go just see how big a deal it is. And as soon as we finish it, we'll go to break, come back, and let our listening audience as well as you respond to it. But real quick, your thoughts, about 30 seconds on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thought process, and I mean, he's not wrong, really. It's not a free for all when it comes to replacing players. You have certain windows and certain times you can do it, and I think that's the way that you got to manage the game. But the thing is, you can't fall behind the times, and that's what's kind of happening up at Clemson. And I think there has to be an adjustment.
What you mean, fall behind the times?
As far as the way that he has handled the change with the adding of the transfer portal and not being that big of a fan of it.
Well, the thing of it is, actually, I talked to Dabo yesterday. He has chosen to make sure that his program is strong and guys don't want to leave. Dabo only lost a handful of players. Everybody keeps blaming Alabama's players for leaving on DeBoer. DeBoer didn't lose that many guys. DeBoer only had a few guys go into the portal. Saban was the one that lost a lot of players. A lot of these guys are out here with Saban. Dabo is only having to replace a handful of players, and he's choosing to build his roster. But that's not what's happening with this. And he starts it off. Let's listen to what Dabo Swinney had to say in regards to this situation X with the roster management and recruiting. Let's just hear what he had to say, and then I'll let you all respond. Like I said, listen up. It's going to be a while. We'll go a little on the break to get it all in, but it's definitely worth hearing. And I think a lot more coaches will follow suit with this thought process, even though they may fall in line with what's being decided.
The crazy thing is there's not many coaches that want 105 scholarships. You know, we want to keep our walk-ons. You know, it's hard to manage, you know, that many guys. And when you have that many guys on scholarship, you think you got transfers now. You wait till that number gets there. It's going to be a lot. So it's going to change a lot of things. But I think it's a product of the lawsuit that was settled. I don't think there was an intention to say, okay, you can have no more walk-ons. I think just the way it was settled was whatever your roster size is, that's your scholarship limit. So you couldn't limit scholarships. And so obviously that's where administrators get together and say, no, wait a minute, we can't have 130 guys on scholarship. So we're going to have to reduce the roster. But whatever they reduce it to, everybody's got to be on scholarship. So, that's how we've gotten to this situation. Now, that's great for baseball. That's great for soccer and some of the sports that, you take 11 scholarships and spread it out amongst 30-something guys. They all have to be on scholarship. But for football, the unintended consequence is it basically eliminates your walk-ons. And there's no coach that wants that. It's a really sad thing, to me. Great, we get more scholarships. That's awesome. But, our game is just different. I mean, if you look at, 100, and you think 105 guys, you ought to have plenty of guys. But, you have to dive a little deeper into that. If you look at the NFL, I mean, they'll have 53 and 16 or 18 on the practice squad. But whatever their roster is, it never changes. So, for example, if they have 8 active linemen, they never have less than that. They can go to any practice squad on 32 teams and take a guy on Monday and activate him to play. And then, oh, by the way, every Tuesday they can bring free agents through. But in college, you can't grab the guy out of the algebra class over here in the middle of the season, and bring him over here and plug him in. And so whatever you start with, it dwindles. And this is a game played by big people. You don't put the corner at nose guard for the week for the scout team. And it's a complicated game. You may have maybe that corner physically could go play running back, but he doesn't know what to do. It's not like they all sit in the same meetings and they learn the terminology. I mean, it's not that simple. It's a very complicated game. It's frustrating. You need to not be able to have the walk-ons. And then in our world, we don't get them at 7 and they leave at 4. And we have a very small window to practice. You have 17 hours with a 20-hour rule. You have 17 hours to meet, to work out, to practice, to get a team ready to play Monday through Friday. So when you go on the practice field, you have to be incredibly efficient with your time. And if you don't have scout teams, to be able to present the looks, it's really difficult. So I think it's going to really challenge. It's a challenge, for sure, and we'll figure it out. But, how you have to practice to develop these kids at this level, because when they come to college, the guys that we recruit, it's the first time they've had peers in their life. They've never, when you go to the NFL, these guys they're the best of the best. They've been playing football forever. And, if you can't win on a slant route versus inside technique, they just bring somebody in there who can, because it's just different in how they practice. We have to develop guys. You might be big and strong, but again, it's the first time that you have been matched up. So, we have to teach a guy how to pull properly. It's just a different type of preparation in college. And now when you do away with the walk-ons and your guys that are just wanting to be a part of it and they want to serve, that 105 is going to dwindle. It's going to dwindle. And, I mean, we can't go we have no way to practice. There were teams last year that played bowl games that if this rule was in effect last year, they would have had to forfeit the bowl game because they wouldn't have had, enough players. Again, it's just, you don't just take a guy and go play left guard. It's just, it's frustrating because we're going to play more games than we've ever played, practice more than we've ever played, finish longer than we've ever played, and we're going to have the smallest roster we've ever had. So it's not, and again, it's not like they said, hey, no walk-ons. That's just what happened when it was settled that you can't limit scholarships anymore. And again, we could have we could keep our 120, which all coaches want, but everybody has to be on scholarship. Well, obviously that's a problem, so everybody's been trying to figure out how can we best make it work. And I think, sounds like, I don't know that, but it sounds like it's kind of heading to 105. So that means you have more scholarships. But I think most coaches, everybody will handle it. There's probably some walk-ons that you've got to keep. And then you'll probably, now you got more scholarships. So There will be some guys that, might take a few more developmental guys. You might take, maybe it's a transfer or two from different levels or whatever. I mean, I think it'll just be to be determined on how it's all handled. But I do think you'll see that transfer number go way up because, you only travel about 80. So that'd be a lot of football players not getting to play. So, again, the walk-on program is what disappoints me the most is, kids that just want to be a part of it, that want to come help you prepare and practice. It saddens me that's probably going to go away.
All right, that's Dabo Swinney. Hey, I want your reactions. The phone lines are open, 205-342-9904. Dabo laying it out, the pros and cons. Didn't have a lot of pros there. And I agree with him. I talked about it yesterday in OT. We'll talk about it more when you and I come back on the other side. You listen to the Martin Houston Show right here on your home for Alabama Sports, Tide 100.9, 12:30 a.m. WTBC. Hey, don't forget, make fullbacks great. Again, get that gear at athletesthreads.com/collections/Martin-Houston.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. The drive time along Highway 69 from Old Greensboro Road to Skyland Boulevard is clocking in at 8 minutes this morning. McFarland at 12 minutes with no problems between Coker and Jack Warner. And it's an 8-minute drive on westbound.
And also offer custom screen printing. Let Eyecatchers print shirts for your next event. 345-7762. Eyecatchers Screen Printing and Gifts, where getting seen becomes an art.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A warm day today with a mixture of clouds and sunshine. The chance of scattered showers and thunderstorms mainly this afternoon and this evening. The high today 88, the low tonight 72. Tomorrow partly sunny, a few scattered storms around, the high 89. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Welcome back to the Martin Houston Show, the sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team, on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. Got timberland in West Alabama. North River Timber Company has you covered since 2011. Courtney White, a registered forester with the state of Alabama, and his expert team have been managing timberland and harvesting timber across 4 counties in West Alabama and growing. They offer comprehensive timber management plans, reforestation services, and appraisals. Courtney White says timber is like money in the bank. Don't let your investment go unrealized. Call North River Timber Company today and unlock the true potential of your land. You can email them at northriverco@gmail.com. That's northriverco@gmail.com. Or call 205-242-5127, 205-242-5127. They're one of our newest roster members. They've joined the team of sponsors. You can do likewise at martinhouston.org. They'll be joining us full time in August. All right, X, we're back, man. What's your thoughts? Initially just out of the gate, listening to what Dabo had to say.
Yeah, hearing it the way that he broke it down, it makes a lot of sense of why he feels the way that he feels. When you look at the entire flow of things with the way that the college football is trending, with the loss of the walk-ons potentially on the horizon, when you know that is something, that's how you build your team. That's how you make your team better. And I mean, I always love the stories of the guys that were walk-ons that ended up making names for themselves. I mean, 2 recently in Alabama history is Levi Wallace and Rashad Johnson, guys that had long NFL careers. And then, of course, that is something that's personal to Dabo because he was a walk-on here, and him being able to walk on here is what was the first step of leading him to where he is now.
Right. If there is no walk-on program, is there even a Dabo Swinney coaching at Clemson? Because he was a walk-on here, his work ethic and the way he took – and he probably showed in some of those days when he was on the walk-on side of things, he probably showed a lot of leadership and coaching in getting everybody in the right spot, which would have caught the coach's eyes before he moved over to this the scholarship side of things. And so to me, it's a lot of different things there, but two things that kind of go hand in hand. He said, you think the transfer portal is a problem now. Wait till you have 105 scholarship guys. And this is what I said yesterday. When guys can think about guys want to play win immediately.
Now.
So you have guys right now who are leaving and they're only competing. Technically, most of them are really only competing against 84 other guys overall, and even fewer guys at DB or fewer guys in their specific position. With 25 more scholarship guys, each position group could have 2 or 3 more guys competing for the same amount of playing time. That's number one. Number two is the walk-ons. He said that's how you build your program because they just want to be a part of helping you get better and they just want to practice. How many of these scholarship guys you think are going to want to give you a look at when they're not playing? That's who's going to have to go out there and give you a look. Now, I can tell you, my freshman year, I gave a look because I was trying to get on the other side of the ball. I don't know if I would have been as engaged if the second year I didn't get into the roster rotation that was on the traveling squad. That's the other part. There's a lot of things here. The other part is you travel 70, I think it's 75 to SEC games. They may do 80 in ACC. I'm not sure. But he said 75 to 80. So you used to have 5 to 10 guys that would travel, right? That didn't travel, that were on scholarship. That's if none of them were injured. So most of the time, almost all the scholarship guys travel. You would now have 25 to 30 guys sitting at home that's on scholarship every week, unless they change the travel. They change the travel, now you change the expenses. So there's some other things I want to get to, but let's get to you have a response to that, and then we'll get to J-Rob.
No, I mean, I respect it. I get it now.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people keep saying that about Dabo and the transfer thing. He's just taking a different approach to the transfer. He's trying to keep his roster together. And he said that the way he would describe his team for 2024, 2025 is strong and together. Strong and together. And that's what he's been building toward. And we'll see what that results in. I'm going to try to get him on at some point in the season. But we did have a good conversation, and I thought this was very interesting take. J-Rob, you're in on the hotline. What's on your mind?
Happy Friday, fellas. How's it going?
Happy Friday. Going good.
Good.
Man, it's going to be a wild world, and I think that conversation that you had with Dabo, or whoever had with Dabo, cleared it up for me a lot. And I got 2 questions. Where's all this extra money coming from that's going to pay for these extra scholarships?
The NCAA settlement will get, I think it's $20 to $22 million added to the bottom line of schools. So what they've done is instead of that money being able to go pay the players, this is my opinion, they're still not going to give the players any more money because that war chest of that extra money is now going to be going to giving more scholarships, which in some sports is great. Baseball goes from 11.7, J-Rob, to 34 scholarships. Coach Vaughn might just take Alabama to a World Series and a national championship because now he's on the same playing field with all of his surrounding schools that he can recruit guys and give them a scholarship where nobody could give scholarships more than 11.7, but they all had lottery or hope things and things like that where they were paying for the school for all of their players, and Alabama was having to split 11 scholarships among 30-something guys.
Excited to hear that. I mean, that's one good thing that's going to come out of this thing. But just like Dabo said, you think it was hard to manage the roster now? With this pickup pick, it's going to be they don't want to sit on a bench and play second team, Martin. I mean, if they're not playing now, they're going to get in the portal, and it'll be a free for all come when they open that transfer portal up. I guarantee you.
Yeah. How did you like his analysis to everybody going, well, the NFL does it with, 53 in a practice squad.
Yeah.
But Dabo explained it perfectly, didn't he? Well, the reason they can do 53 is they have a number per position. And no matter if they lose a player in a position, they have an entire field of people they can go recruit. They can go to everybody's practice squad, all 32 teams, and they can bring in free agents from anywhere. Like after I got hurt, I was still called to see if I wanted to come back and play. After I left the Steelers, I even got a call from the Green Bay Packers the next draft if I wanted to come play fullback. So it's not just the guys who came out that year. It's not just a practice squad. It's any guy that they think physically is ready to play. You can go get a guy out of the grocery store for an NFL roster, Kurt Warner. I mean, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's huge. And the part that I want to close on, let you respond to and let you go, J-Rob, is when he said you start with 105 and you go down from there. You go down from 105. They had 120 players. 120 to 125 is what they used to have.
Yeah, I'm going to miss the underdog story, the guys that are hungry, the guys that come to work and work every day for nothing, have to pay their own way, just trying to get a spot, trying to go travel, trying to get a spot on the roster. I'm going to miss those underdog stories, and I think this is going to eliminate them pretty much. So you guys have a great weekend. Roll Tide.
All right, thanks, J-Rob. Roll Tide. X, respond to that real quick. I think the underdog story changes. The underdog story becomes the 3-star who's on scholarship or a 2-star that Alabama picked up that would be a good practice guy that gets here and develops. So I think you'll still see guys come in unexpectedly and play, because the beauty of it is some schools are going to be able to get a few more, 4 stars and 5 stars. The reality of it is there's only so many 5 stars rated, right? There's only so many 4 stars rated, then 3 star, unless the rating services change daily. Your response real quick.
No, I think that's how it does change. I think it becomes about the other guys, the Dre Kirkpatrick Jr.'s, the Quinnen Williams. Those are the underdog stories that you hear now more than you hear about the top end or the walk-on guys. A 2-star that is needed to fill a slot, a depth piece, and then something happens along the way. He gets an opportunity to get out on the field. That's where it goes from now on.
On the other side of the break, I'll give you one of the pros I do think happens as a result that of this. I think there are going to be some of those, according to Chuck Hunt, Rudy type stories coming out, the Dabo Swinney stories. They just won't be walk-ons. If this rule stays, I think that you're going to see some pushback where they give them a practice squad. They're going to have to, man. I mean, but you can't give those guys anything. You're going to have a scholarship, and then I think they're going to have to give them some number of players for a practice squad. There's a reason there's a practice squad. There's a reason that you have those guys. A couple other things that Dabo pointed out that makes it tough. I'll hit those highlights on the other side, and then we'll get into some recruiting with X. You listen to the Martin Houston Show.
Let your doctor know you are concerned about the health of your kidneys and ask what you can do to keep your kidneys healthy.
This report is sponsored by Tire Rack.
It's time for the Martin Houston Show. With the same hard-hitting, no-nonsense approach in which he played the game, Martin will take you inside the locker room, down on the field, and across the goal line with his in-depth analysis.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. Go check out Taco Casa. Taco Casa, quality, taste, and value under the biggest cactus in town. They've been doing it the right way since 1974. They've been rolling with me since 2016. We appreciate them, my longest running sponsor and partner. But hey, we'd love you to join that roster of great companies and partners. Go to email Martin at martinhouston.org if you would like to become a partner. We have some great opportunities for you. You can sponsor segments like today, Free for All Friday. It would be, whatever your company name is for Free for All Friday. So, but go back and check out Taco Casa, quality, taste, and value, the biggest cactus in town. And looking forward to them remaining a great partner. TacoCasa.com. And listen, if you're a little thirsty and you're wondering what you're going to chase it with, go get some of that sweet tea, the best in town. That's Taco Casa, quality, taste, and value, and the biggest cactus in town. 6 locations in Tuscaloosa, one up in Birmingham off of Lakeshore Drive. All right, let's get back at it. X, Pat, we're coming to you in just a second. X, when you look at this, man, it's an interesting time. Dabo said 7-4 is the work day for the NFL. And of course, we know that that's 7 hours each day. College has 17 hours spread from Sunday to Friday. They have 20-hour work week, 3 hours for the game, 17 hours for everything, meetings and practice and follow-up meetings, etc. So not only if you have somebody that could play both ways, they don't have a whole lot of time to get there. So, and then the biggest thing to me is this is another move, X, that I go, did they think about player safety? Dabo said more games, longer seasons, later finish, earlier start, right? Earlier start. They're starting earlier. We start practice next week in Tuscaloosa, play in August, and could potentially be playing well into January. Longest season, right. Smallest roster. I mean, it's just so many. There's a lot. And like I said, it's great for some of the sports. Real quick, X, what do you think Nate Oates does with 2 more scholarships? Is that good or bad?
I mean, I think in every other sport outside of football, it could be a great thing. But I think you add more depth pieces. You get a guy that you really wanted that might have had to go somewhere else. But I think
create.
Like I said, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I think it's great. Like I said, I think it's great in every other sport but football. Just because of the number. I think you get 15 basketball players on scholarship, your transfer portal number goes up. You can just bring in more guys too. So it's kind of the same thing. I mean, you got 15 guys you're trying to get in 5 spots. So you have 3 deep all the time. So it'll be interesting to see. In basketball, you only plays 7, 8 guys. So the transfer portal, I think, and I could be wrong, Ax, I would not be surprised if the transfer portal rule doesn't change.
to one get-out-of-jail-free card. They're going to have to do something because the combination will be devastating. Let's get to Pat. Pat, you're in with Martin and X. What's on your mind?
Absolutely, Martin. They're going to have to put a sports psychologist on staff to help with this. I mean, it's going to be awful as far as what like Dabo. I agree with him 100% on being able to keep these guys engaged that aren't traveling. But now, am I assuming correctly that all 105 will be able to dress out for each home football game?
That's what I'm saying. They would have to change that. SEC had limitations, Pat, on non-conference games. You could dress out as many as you wanted, if I'm not mistaken. So the SEC in the individual conferences will have to change it. I think it's 75. I haven't checked that rule in forever. It was in the 70s, for a long time that you could travel to an SEC game. Or that you could dress for an SEC game. It wasn't about travel. It was dress for an SEC game because one of the teams would be traveling every SEC game, and so they had a limitation on the roster for an SEC game.
Okay,
but put me on the sideline, Pat. Go ahead.
Okay.
I said, put me on the sideline in a uniform isn't gonna appease me in terms of going into the portal, though. You're just frustrated.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But now I got something here though that I think that we need to. If this is the case, we're going to have to also move no early sign-in period. We're going to have to move back to the original sign-in period because of more evaluation. The evaluation factor for these players and who you pick to be on your team is going to have to, you're going to have more evaluation time, but are you going to have to be really, really good at it? Do you not agree with that?
X, I'll let you respond to it, and then I'll give my quick response.
I think the big name guys you've evaluated 100%. I think you'll start to see a bigger national signing day again. You'll always have the big early signing day, and how it's dwindled with national signing day. I think you'll just see that number rise again.
A great observation, X. I don't think you need any more time, Pat. I think these coaches start recruiting these kids because of the amount of film and different things as ninth graders, eighth graders. They have huddles, descending, all that stuff. I don't think the evaluation period goes, but to X's point, great point. You're going to still see the same number of guys, 23 to 25 sign or more on the early signing period. Then they'll use that last time to decipher between the guys that fill spot 86 through 105. I just don't think it's going to take any longer. You got anything else before I let you go, Pat?
No, man, I appreciate it. Y'all have a blessed weekend.
All right, thanks. George, you're in with X and Martin. What's on your mind?
Hey, Martin, thanks for taking my call. I guess I'm a little bit confused. So they went from 85 scholarships to 105, but they dropped the number you can keep on your roster from, 125 to 105. Is that right?
What they're looking at, George, is that they haven't determined this yet, but what they have decided is whatever they decide on the roster side, all of them have to be on scholarship. Okay? So baseball has always had 34 guys. And they can't, and undoubtedly in football, they're not going to let you partial out scholarships. Football rosters have been 120 to 125. Okay? Baseball has been 34. So now they're going to have enough scholarships for their whole roster. All these other teams they're going to be able to finance their whole roster. what they're saying is you can have, if football decides on 120, that means that you would have to pay for 120 scholarships.
Okay.
So they're not saying that. Go ahead.
What? So everybody that's out there that puts on a helmet has to be on full scholarship. Well, I guess what I'm saying is, what was the reason for doing away with walk-ons? I guess that's where I'm kind of hazy. What's the benefit? I
think that they're. Remember, this is to me potentially backhanded on the part. Right now, if I want to get an extra scholarship guy, I can do NIL. Okay.
Right.
So I can have 85 full scholarship guys, and then I can go out and give another guy an NIL deal, and he's not counted as a scholarship, but I could do that. So what they're doing is to me, this is a way to prevent schools from also paying people.
Okay.
I give you 105 scholarships. You can't go out and get another scholarship quality guy at 106 by giving him NIL. But what they're doing is they're hurting the programs by doing that. And I don't know if that's the reason behind it or not.
Okay.
But they're trying to do away with NIL.
Right.
Paying scholarships.
Have they increased the window for giving scholarships? I know we got the early signing time, and then they got February, the first Wednesday of February. Are they doing anything with that window?
X, do you know anything? I've not heard anything.
Okay. I guess, but I'm agreeing with you. Shorten the size of your squad, increasing the games, lengthening the season. I mean, they aren't thinking about safety.
Not at all.
They aren't. And not only that, when you're also decreasing the amount of training, which helps decrease the amount of injuries. I mean, it's just another it's a joke. You know, This off season has been really crazy. I'm ready to start playing some football. You know, it seems like when we're playing football, all these pinheads, they don't have the time to do anything. So we got to quit. We got to get playing because all they want to do, they think change is good. Sometimes changing is not good.
Right.
But thank you for taking my call.
Thanks. And I do think one thing that would be good, X, is if they were to, if you can sign more scholarship guys after spring and into the fall, because you lose guys. That would be interesting. We'll be back on the other side to talk recruiting, X, and maybe you talk about maybe they do need to change the times where you can have. Maybe there's become the third signing period. Who knows? We'll talk about it right here on your home for Alabama Sports Talk, 100.9, 1230 AM WTBC. We'll be back on the other side to wrap up this conversation with a little recruiting news.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. The trip down from Northport is a quiet one for the moment, just a 5-minute drive on Lurling Wallace from McFarland to 15th Street, 8 minutes on 2059 from Foster's to McFarland, and on the westbound side, 8 minutes there as well. And along McFarland from Coker to Jack Warner, expect a 12-minute trip with no big problems along the way. With your Tuscaloosa traffic now, I'm Ray Romero.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Friday morning. A sure sign that the fall semester at the University of Alabama is not far away have appeared. 10 roll-off dumpsters are strategically located to assist students with their move-in. They are for residential use only. Contractors and businesses are prohibited from using them. They are set up at Parkview Center, Meadow Drive, 12th Street, in front of Capstone Condominiums, in front of Heathrow Apartments, Tutwiler, 12th and 14th Street, 8th Avenue and 13th Street, and 13th Street behind Jack's. I'm Don Hartley.
Go inside the Alabama Crimson Tide with the Gary Harris Show.
Friday mornings on the Gary Harris Show. You know what that means. It's the TGIF edition. We're going to rock you into the weekend with some great music, a lot of fun, terrific guests like Adam Amin from Fox Sports, Brett Pritchard with the Auburn Report, your phone calls, and more. That's the TGIF edition of the Gary Harris Show.
Experience the wow factor. Contact Shoot Masonry and Specialties at 205-887-3807 today and unleash your home's full potential.
The sound of Bama sports. Your show, your team. The Martin Houston Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Martin Houston Show. It's now time for Harvest Church 2-minute warning. I want to remind you or inform you, if you've not heard, we're adding the West Alabama High School Pigskin Preview Show to the Martin Houston radio network. We'll be doing that on Thursday starting August 15th at 6 p.m. following the game with Ryan Fowler. We'll be talking to high school coaches. We'll have a game of the week highlight. We'll have players of the week, offensive and defensive. We'll also have our pigskin, the Martin Houston pigskin, all pigskin team. So we look forward to partnering with you. If you'd like to learn more about that, email martin@martinhouston.org. We'd love to add you to the roster of partners that support local high school in West Alabama. Pickens, Hale, Bibb, Tuscaloosa, and Fayette counties will be the high schools that we highlight. So email martin@martinhouston.org for more information. It's now time for some roster management with Max Recruiting. Xavier Houston, follow Max_recruiting on the X for more details. Toss to you, X.
Yeah, got a big recruiting weekend as the dead period has come to an end. And that is the cold summer cookout. And got a lot of names coming in, a lot of commits in this 2025 class. You've got Keelan Russell, Ty Haywood, Caleb Cunningham, John Lee, Duke Johnson, Dawson Merritt, Micah DuBose, Abdul Sanders, Mal Waldrop, just to name a few. Several other commits in this 2025 class will be back in town this weekend for that. So big momentum thing, getting these guys all together really for the first time. Some been here together, some haven't. So getting to meet your future teammates this weekend, as well as a handful of 2026 guys. You have Anthony Jones out of St. Paul's in Mobile. You've got who's a 5-star edge. You have 5-star offensive lineman Jackson Cantwell out of Missouri. Blaine Bradford, number 1 safety out of Baton Rouge. Xavier Griffin, number 2 linebacker out of Gainesville, Georgia. Ryder Lyons, the number 3 quarterback in the 2026 class out of Folsom High School in California. Zion Gibson, number 3 corner out of Gaston City. So just some of those guys. But the biggest name, a name that we've all been listening to and wanting to hear, is going to be in town this weekend, and that is 4-star running back, number 1 running back in the country, Kalen Deere out of Mississippi. He will be back on campus. Maybe we get a commitment. There's rumors that this might be his only post dead period visit. So I think we could hear some big things getting added to this class of 2025.
Wow, that's awesome. So do you think we get AK? What are your leanings and predictions there?
Everything I've heard is he is loving Bama. The relationship that he has started to build with Keelan Russell. He and Caleb Cunningham have been good friends for a while. Ty Haywood, who is playing his high school ball in Texas, is originally from the state of Mississippi. That's the connection there that is being built. And I think when you really look at it, you want an offensive lineman, a wide receiver, and a quarterback. That's who you want your running back to be getting close with. So I think it's a high possibility. You know, he's kind of gone quiet, but he still seems to have a lot of love for Bama. And that also might just be quiet due to the dead period.
Yeah, definitely some interesting thing. Based on what they've done, in the big recruiting weekend, what do you think Alabama's biggest needs are? Is it running back, or is it just that you take a 5-star if you can get him?
I mean, when you look at it, there's 5 running backs on the roster. Yes, they all can return next year. When you look from Jam Miller down to the freshman in Kevin Riley and Daniel Hill, but you never know what's going to happen with the transfer portal. You never know what's going to play out with that. You never know what could make a guy lean somewhere else. We do have Anthony Rogers out of Montgomery committed in this class. Rumor is if Deere comes, he might be out. But you want multiple running backs in most classes, and so I think Alabama is definitely going to try to stick with that trend of getting a second guy in while holding on to Anthony Rogers.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Like you said, you always want to try to get multiple running backs just because of injuries and different things like that. Speaking of that running back room, this is really more roster management. As you said, there's 5 guys that could all come back. Jam Miller's the only one that can leave, right?
Correct.
So you got at least 4, right?
Right. If nobody transfers out, Jam is the only one eligible to leave for the draft.
What's your thoughts really quick? Do you have anything else on the recruiting side before I ask you a question about Jam and Justice?
No, I think that's it, really.
Okay. When you look at Justice and Jam, what are your thoughts about Justice Haynes being third team and Jam not being on there at all? On the all-SEC preseason list.
I mean, Justice being on it, that is the hype, and it is well-deserved. When you look at their talent level, these are definitely 2 backs that are first-team All-American caliber when it comes to talent. It just really depends on how they'll be used this year in this system. But Jam not being on the list at all, and picking Jam when I think Jam not being on the list and picking Justice when I think Jam's going to be the quote-unquote starter is kind of disrespectful.
Yeah, do you think, and that brings me to the point, do you think that it's possible Jam may be the starter, but do you think Justice could end up with more carries?
I don't know if more carries. I think he might end up with more touches. I think he'll be used a little bit more. Yeah, I think he'll be used a little bit more in the passing game, potentially than Jam. But Jam's proven to be a quality back catching the ball out of the backfield. So,
yeah. Either way, Alabama has a good problem to have. I think Jam will get there. We'll just talk about this all next week as we're getting ready to roll in on what's happening at the Crimson Tide. We will have an OT. I'm going to talk about Jalen Milroe being up in New York. Got a couple of video clips that are going to play and break down. Kudos to Jalen Milroe for embracing this new role as a leader, clear leader. Hey, that's Martin. I'm Martin Houston. That's Xavier Houston. That's Chase Brumfield. Thanks to all the callers, reviewers, and chatters for being a part of the program. We appreciate you. If you hadn't heard the Dabo Swinney audio on scholarship roster management, you need to hear it. You can go to Martin Houston, the Martin Houston Show on Facebook, and find all the details. Played it in its entirety right there on Facebook. Remember this, trust in the Lord always, lean not your own understanding, and always acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. We'll be back on the other side for Martin Houston OT.